that kind of takes away from how serious I was trying to make this. Okay. Before I get into the topic of today's video, and well, first let me... That's a little better. I swear what I'm about to talk about is serious, you gotta believe me. Although, considering stuff like this, it kind of makes sense considering who it is I'm about to talk about and their style of humor. When we're growing up, there will always be things that we remember that no matter how old we get, we're never going to forget was a part of our lives. Whether it was going to your favorite place or seeing your favorite people, or in the case of, hobbies, watching your favorite shows when you were a kid. There will be shows I will remember watching for the rest of my life. And no matter what I do, I could never really thank the shows I watched when I was a kid enough for, helping me find interests in life. I say this because we just lost a legend. Some cases you could argue it was the legend. There's no easy way to say this. Akira Toriyama has passed away. Now, for those of you who don't know who Akira Toriyama was, he was the author, or mangaka, if you will, of Dragon Ball, and by extension, Dragon Ball Z, and Dragon Ball Super, if you want to be technical, because he worked on some of that as well. I'm going to be doing a more in-depth video, barring something crazy happening. I'm going to be doing a more in-depth video about just how much of an impact Dragon Ball as a whole has left on me. Probably tomorrow. Again, barring something crazy happening. But to say that, as a fan of Dragon Ball, even to this day, I'm going to be talking about this more in depth tomorrow. I had no idea that Dragon Ball was a manga. I didn't. In fact, when we got Dragon Ball Z in the 90s, the series itself was about 40% of the way done. Again, I'll go on and on about this tomorrow, but if there was ever anything that could constitute for my low for the day, that's it. I learned about this last night, and when I got up this morning, I'll be honest, I barely got any sleep last night. Partly because of this, and also because of the good things I wanted to talk about today. But I hesitated to look online again because I thought what I read last night was a complete hoax. I really did. I really didn't want to believe what I read. But it was there. It was there to see this morning. And yeah, this one hurts. As a fanboy, just as a fanboy in general, even if you've never been an anime fan, you know what Dragon Ball is. And you wouldn't know that without Akira Toriyama. But again, I'll save the bulk of what I'm going to talk about tomorrow. For now, I can say that my high was okay. So this weekend over at the Illegal Tap House, there's going to be a very special, whiskey tasting in preparation for the fact that St. Patrick's Day is next weekend. Now, for this whiskey tasting, you have to pay $95 for a ticket. And frankly, and here's the thing, it's from 1 to 4 o'clock in the afternoon before I would otherwise go to church, which is something, I would never eat or drink anything before going to church. That's just not what I do. Like, I'll have breakfast that morning, but that's it. But they were giving away 3 free tickets. Obviously there were going to be 3 winners. And, I entered just thinking, come on, I'm not going to win this. It turns out I won. I'm not kidding. I legit won a free $95 ticket to go to a whiskey tasting. And keep in mind, I had no plans or aspirations to even go to this at all. But, shit. Not only do I have to go, but I think I better play the lottery too. So, yeah, yesterday really was a great day. Up until what I heard, what I just talked about. But speaking of other things that are included in my high, we had a great new episode of Hot Ones, and I saw Kung Fu Panda 4. I will talk about those right now. Oh, also my act of kindness was I did some stuff for my grandma yesterday. Okay, now we can get started. So let's talk about Hot Ones. Jamie Dornan, most known for 50 Shades franchise and, The Tourist on Netflix. He was on Hot Ones yesterday, and they talked about, the questions that the first question was about The Tourist. Specifically how, it takes place in, the Sahara Desert and, the shores of, Ireland or something. And they talk about how location, what kind of a role location plays in, the first 2 seasons of The Tourist. And, it's huge because, there's always a change in the elements, heat in the outback. It wasn't the Sahara. It was, the outback in Australia. That's what it was. There was one memory he has of, on his birthday, there was a sandstorm, and they waited to film before the sandstorm was over. But then, a whole bunch of flies appeared. And, they had to edit all that out. And, it ended up being so late when they were done, he didn't have a birthday dinner. So, not the best memory. He talked about the unique tactics that Kenneth Branagh uses for authentic reactions on camera. And how he has, really clever ways of getting interesting stuff caught on camera. And, yes, it is true. He can keep actors on edge, for, really intense, dramatic scenes, like he did for, A Haunting in Venice. Okay, sorry, I thought I only had, 9 questions here. So, he talked about the most soul-crushing memory of auditioning during pilot week in LA, which, he gets into the car, and his passenger seat is, filled to the brim with, scripts, and, knowing every single one of those scripts that he auditioned for, the roles they auditioned for was a failure. He got in the car and cried, I know that feeling. Walked around the beach to get some air, he gets back and he got a parking ticket. That's about soul-crushing as it gets, my friend. He talked about how it can, he talked about how you need to be able to turn off, the persona you have in front of the camera off like a switch when the director yells cut. He talked about his biggest customer pet peeve back when he was working as a bartender, which is, there was this one guy with, bad hair, really bad hair. And this guy would do this. to try and get his attention. Like, listen, as someone who tries to support local, and as someone who tries to, who eats out at least, once a week. Actually, more like 2 to 3 times a week. But, I'm smart with my money and stuff like that, so don't worry. Point is, I would never behave like that to a bartender or a waiter or waitress or anyone. Because if you do, you wind up with Jamie Dornan into this guy, and this guy would literally spit in the guy's drink. Bro, if you behave like that towards your bartender or anyone who's serving you, frankly, you deserve to get kicked out. Although, you can argue spat in your drink is worse. He talked about how the focus pillar is the most underappreciated role in a movie set. He talked about how the nastiest thing he's done, or had done to him in the bellows of a rugby scrum, was getting scraped by cleats. Ouch. He talked about, this was the Bond question, but what's the key to a perfect pasta puttanesca? He got to like the not too much anchovy part, but that was really about it. So, listen, it's been a while since I've seen a Hot Ones guest react in a way where he just straight up say, like, I hate you, Sean, I never want to see you again. That's why I'll say this on camera now. If I ever somehow get on Hot Ones, I would boldly claim I would never say that. Sean, on a very slim chance you're watching this, know that I would never say that to you. In fact, I would applaud you and commend you for being my wingman. Shout out to Sean Evans. Seriously, Sean Evans is the best wingman in the game. I don't know if you know this, but he's the best wingman. He is the best wingman in the game. I will die on that hill, goddammit. Okay, so, let's see. Can you tell this is very early? Yeah, I actually set daylight savings time was this weekend, and me, being the rather prepared individual that I am, I decided to spring forward already. It's just 5 after 6 right now. Yes, I'm that crazy. Anyway, what can I say? I'm a morning person. He talked about how, like, a movie that he's been in that would get him a free pint is the Siege of Jetetville, and how the movie that would get him punched in the face is Wild Mountain Time. Okay, and he talked about, like, what made him almost quit acting, what gave him the strength to keep going. Like, and this is something that we all, like, I know this is something that I know to do as well, but, it never hurts to get a reminder. Back yourself no matter the odds. Try and tell yourself you have something to offer. I know that, and I want to believe I have something to offer, but sometimes I don't see it, So, that's something I gotta work on. So, now that's taken care of, let's talk about Kung Fu Panda 4. So, Kung Fu Panda 4. For those of you who don't know, I love the Kung Fu Panda franchise. I love it to death. Would you believe okay, this is a funny story. I actually originally had no intention of seeing Kung Fu Panda when it first premiered in theaters back in 2008. That's how long ago this was. And I got the recommendation from a classmate of mine who was in choir with me. In fact, we had our big Pops concert at the end of the year. And he talked about how he saw Kung Fu Panda, and he thought it was really good. I didn't think much of it, but I remember being bored, and I went to go see it in the theater, and boy, let me tell you what, between seeing the movie in the theater and the times I've seen it over and over again on DVD, and the times it's on like TV or whatever, I've probably seen that movie like 100 times. And the sequel comes out, guess what? It's better than the first one. And the third movie, and literally like 5 years later, the third movie comes out, and it's so awesome. And what's so great about this series is that it's done a great job of knowing that Po, played by Jack Black, is the Kung Fu Panda. He is the main character. We're watching this character progress and grow throughout these movies. And that's what happens. In fact, that continues to happen in Kung Fu Panda 4. Now, I want to make one thing clear. There has never been a bad Kung Fu Panda movie. In fact, I will tell you right now, this is a good movie. It is. Most definitely a worthy installment in what used to be a trilogy. Now it's whatever the next one up is. With that being said, I can definitely see why some people are probably going to give this one a lot of flack. Because, let's get to the main question. Did this movie really need to be made? No. In fact, I know for a fact why this movie was made. It was because before the pandemic, a little movie called Toy Story 4 came out after having finished that trilogy. And that movie not only continued to gross millions of dollars in the box office, but that movie actually wound up winning the Academy Award for Best Animated Picture. And I can definitely see Kung Fu Panda 4 in that same light. I can definitely see a nomination right now. Because it was very, very, very good. The animation, yeah, that's the thing about the animation in these movies. And Doug Walker said this perfectly when he talked about the Kung Fu Panda movie. You know, Doug Walker, a.k.a. the Nostalgia Critic. Shout out to Doug Walker, a.k.a. the Nostalgia Critic. He said it perfectly when he said, these movies take full advantage of the fact that they're both animated and they're comedies. And it leads to some really fun, fast-paced fight sequences, which are a lot of fun to watch. And guess what? That happens in Kung Fu Panda 4 as well. The main lesson of this movie is change. Because now the next and possibly final step for Po is to become a spiritual leader, like Oogway was. Therefore, he has to choose a successor for the next Dragon Warrior. And, between, the fact that things change in life, and the fact that the villainess, played by Viola Davis, the chameleon, literally is able to change her appearance on the outside, it's proof that, change can be difficult. It can be scary. But if you keep an open mind, it doesn't need to be a bad thing. And let's talk about the one thing a lot of people are most likely going to complain about. Because Jack Black's successor winds up being a fox called Shin, played by Awkwafina. Now, I want to make one thing clear. I like Awkwafina. In fact, I do believe her to be an unbelievable talent. But the thing that a lot of people are starting to dislike about her is whenever she's cast in a movie, specifically an animated movie where she has to lend her voice to a character, she doesn't really do anything to disguise her voice. If you cast Awkwafina in a movie, you're going to get Awkwafina. I could say the same thing for, Patrick Warburton, Joe on Family Guy, or Kronk from The Emperor's New Groove. If you cast Patrick Warburton, you're going to get Patrick Warburton. And I actually have to say one thing about the cast, too. Listen, Jack Black will forever be Po. He is the Kung Fu Panda. Of all the great celebrity voice actors who have, that iconic role, you've got Jack Black as Po, the Kung Fu Panda. You have Tom Hanks as Woody, Tim Allen as Buzz Lightyear. The list could go, because Despicable Me 4 is coming out, I'll just say it, Steve Carell as Gru. Those are characters that have cemented themselves and their franchises at large in pop culture. And, you wouldn't have them without such great voice-over actors who also happen to be celebrities doing their thing. And the cast in this movie was awesome. I mean, Viola Davis was a great villain. I think she was a pretty great villainess. I really do. I mean, her plan is she wants to essentially dominate the world using Kung Fu to do that. Here's the thing though. Because the chameleon is small, no one ever teach her Kung Fu. So she turned to sorcery. And using sorcery, she can shapeshift into anyone or anything, well, really anyone, including Poe himself. Which, I don't want to give away everything that she does, but yes, you do see all of Poe's villains in this movie. And it really is great to see them fight again. And I saw this review yesterday, I forget from who it was, who mentioned that one red flag about this movie is, of the Kung Fu Panda movies, this one had the lowest budget. Now, the lack of budget wasn't in the animation, or the writing, or the comedy, or anything like that. The lack of budget came from the fact that it was the cast. You know, you can't have the Kung Fu Panda without the Furious Five. You know, Viper, Monkey, Mantis, Crane, Tigress. You know, there's no David Cross, who's the Crane. There's no Seth Rogen did have. Oh, I should say this: the Furious Five had a cameo, sort of a cameo. At the end, well, it's a little bit more than a cameo because at the end of the movie, obviously Poe picks Shin to be his successor, and the Furious Five start to train with her, and it's a really great scene. Complimented by the fact that Jack Black is singing Britney Spears' "Hit Me Baby One More Time," which, I mean, I love Jack Black. Jack Black can sing. It was really cool. Gosh, I really could go on and on about this movie. This is a good movie. It is. I can definitely see a lot of people thinking that this movie is the weakest of the Kung Fu Panda movies. And if you want to do that, I won't stop you. I mean, because, again, if you are a diehard Kung Fu Panda fan, this is worth seeing. If you wind up not liking it, that's on you. But me, I had a ball. I really did. I definitely had a few laughs. I definitely thought the action was great. You know, not to mention, of this entire franchise, the unsung hero of all of these movies, the great James Hong as Poe's dad, the duck. I'm not gonna lie, I can't remember his name. Oh, Payne. His name's Payne. Point is, listen, James Hong is, you could argue he's the MVP of the whole trip. You can argue that he's the MVP of everything he's in nowadays. I mean, gosh, very late 80s, early 90s, and he's still doing what he's doing. Actually, I think he's in his 90s now, and he's still doing what he's doing. I mean, you can make the case that James Hong is the GOAT, man. I'd be okay with that. I wouldn't argue with that. It's James Hong. You know, seriously, and Bryan Cranston as Lane, you know, Poe's dad, you know, Poe's actual dad. Seriously, Bryan Cranston and James Hong have great chemistry together. They do. You know, honestly, okay. I personally have this theory that as to why, the budget for this movie was so low, not just because of the cast. I really think that because this movie's going to do so well, there's going to be at least one more movie. Where they go from there, I don't know. And again, I hope they don't do this. I really hope they don't do this. But from a narrative standpoint, if there's a fifth movie, I could definitely see a scenario where they wind up writing off the character of Poe. I mean, it'd be a very bold move. And believe me, a lot of children are going to cry at that. Believe me. but I could totally see them going in that direction. I mean, listen, this is an action comedy, but there are some dark moments in these movies, to be sure. I don't know if they would necessarily go that dark, but you never know what you can do nowadays. But we'll cross that bridge if we ever get to it. For now, I'm totally okay with recommending Kung Fu Panda 4. It was awesome, it was fun, the fight scenes was awesome, Jack Black is still awesome, James Hong is awesome, Bryan Cranston, the whole cast was awesome in this movie. Viola Davis is awesome, gotta mention the great Viola Davis. And you know what? Even if a lot of people are gonna bash Awkwafina for the fact she's just doing Awkwafina, I'm not gonna do that. But I'll be honest, of all the Awkwafina characters, this is definitely my top 3. I think I would put this character as number 3. I'd probably put, well, I gotta put a character in Crazy Rich Asians as number 1. That's easy. That's tough. I'll have to really think about this for a second. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Point is, go watch Kung Fu Panda 4. I had a blast. And if you're looking for a good time, that's what you're going to have. I hope y'all like this video. If you like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow me on social media. As always, I'm very homemade video for all you guys watching the show for them. Hopefully you have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful Friday. I forgot to say Happy Friday. Happy Friday, everyone. And remember, if you want to talk, channels, we're here to let me know what's your back. Take care and make good choices. 607 all day, baby.